Today on the DML News podcast, Trump takes over the Super Bowl. It was the only promising thing about it. And there are a bunch of things going on in the Trump administration. We're going to tell you all about it today, and it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today on this Monday. Across from me is my son, Denny. On the controls is my son, Ryan. We come to you proud every single day as a family, here to tell you all about what the 47th president of the United States is doing, how he's trying to make your country great again, and all the things that the Democrats are trying to do to get in the way. Not only Democrats, but judges. Yeah, judges. We're going to get to that in a big way towards the latter part of today's show. But we are going to start off right now with two things. Number one, 47report.com. That's a 4 and a 7 report.com. 47report.com comes to you in your inbox every single day. Just to kind of put it into perspective, 4 o'clock every morning, I got my alarm set, and I'm taking a look at the different things that, was fresh news last night at 11 o'clock at night, and then by 4 a.m., my God, all the new things that come in is just crazy, and that's because President Trump is moving at lightning speed to make America great again. If you are not getting 47report.com newsletter every single day in your inbox, go to 47report.com and get it. All you need to do is enter your email. You can unsubscribe at any time. I don't share your email with anybody. It is a relationship between you and me. If you've already signed up for the newsletter and you're not seeing it, check your spam, because Yahoo and Google and all those other different mail providers, they hate conservative messages and they sneak it over there into the spam. All you have to do is drag it back over to your inbox, maybe respond to the email and just say, hey, thanks for sending for me, and it should be with you every single day. Number two, for people who are DML CBD customers, and even those who are not, if you're thinking about making yourself feel great again, if you want to boost the immune system and curb the anxiety, if you want to help rid of those skin issues, if you want to sleep better, the list is so long on what DML CBD does for people, for tens of thousands of people. We are offering our buy one, get one free. We do it a few times a year. This is one of those times. Today is the last day. You'll have until 12 o'clock Pacific time. And that, I should say, 11:59 a.m. p.m. My God, I'm struggling. Later tonight is when we close it down. So make sure you get in there. Go to dmlcbd.com/BOGO. For the longest time, I had given up on the NFL. And it's a shame, because playing football was my all-time favorite sport to play, not only as a kid, but I played up until the time of when I was pretty much almost 40 years old in a official two-hand touch league. And watching the Super Bowl for me was always an event. I mean, I hate to say it, but it was my favorite holiday of the year, even though it's not a holiday. All of my friends, all my buddies, even their sons would come over to the house. We would eat like it was the last day on earth. We'd watch the game. We'd make little side bets. And before all of that, we would go up to the park and we would have a friendly two-hand touch game with a bunch of beers. When Colin Kaepernick started taking a knee, protesting against police for doing their job, I was disgusted. But when the NFL actually wound up supporting that and started going down this race-baiting routine of where the national anthem was all of a sudden something to protest, because police officers were actually trying to do their job by arresting the criminals, I just fell out of love with the NFL. I just stopped watching. And it was like that for years. In fact, I remember we could not print out quick enough the bumper stickers that we had created called "I Stand for My Flag." And people were putting those everywhere proudly, because it was despicable what the NFL was doing. Well, the NFL basically paid the price for years. People tuned out. And then slowly but surely, as the woke started to seem like it was fading, people started to tune in again. And you put in a couple of very interesting Super Bowls. And you know what? Americans are fair people. We will forgive you. But we won't completely forget, especially if you do it twice. Because there's an old saying, Get me once, shame on you. Get me twice, shame on me. Last night, I felt as if shame on me. I'm not going to play the videos here today. We made a last-second decision that we are not going to give the NFL and its wokeism any further attention. We're going to talk about it here today, and then thankfully the NFL is over for a long period of time, and hopefully it finds its way back to normalcy by next season. But there was a halftime routine last night that looked like somebody emptied out all the prisoners from inside the hood and let them run around like idiots on the 50-yard line. And I just sat there, and everybody sat there and said, who wants to watch this crap? And the amazing thing about it is that the NFL is trying to sell this whole message of unity. And yet every single person on that center stage seemed as if they were black, or at least wanted to be. It was just so insulting that we have taken a national stage like that and created it into something that looked like a scene from a Friday night in South Chicago, notwithstanding the missing of a carjacking. That was really what I found it to be. Then amazingly, and I'm not going to play the commercial because I'm not going to buy into their crap, Tom Brady, how disappointed am I in him? Tom Brady and Snoop Dogg, a guy who celebrates getting drunk and doing drugs, all the things that a kid should not do, are in a commercial to where they're screaming at each other fakely that they hate each other for no reason, one because one's white and one's because the other one's black. And the message is, stop hating. You got to be kidding me. If there were ever two messages that conflicted with each other, it was the halftime act and it was the commercial of Snoop Dogg and Tom Brady. And at that point, I had just had enough. The only thing that was amazing last night, and again, I'm not going to play it because it's the NFL, because I'm not going to show the NFL. The thing that was most amazing last night was during the national anthem, the cameras spanned the stadium and stopped on President Trump standing next to his daughter Ivanka. And there Trump was in his classic salute to the country, and the crowd went absolutely bonkers in a great way. Cheering, screaming, you name it. And to set up how much they loved it, the cameras then later on found Taylor Not So Swift, the Kamala Harris touting pop star who happens to be nauseously involved with the very nauseous Mr. Pfizer take the jab, Mr. Kelsey from the Kansas City Make Me Sick Chiefs. And when they showed her on the Jumbotron, in comparison to what they showed when they showed Trump, the entire stadium booed. And I mean booed. And it was a message. Both of those were a message. And here's the message that I loved that it sent. The Super Bowl is the most watched single-day event out of any sporting event worldwide. Everybody tunes into the Super Bowl. And so those two things I just explained to you. A, you've got people championing for Trump. And B, people booing at a Kamala Harris champion. Tells the world two things that are very, very important. Number one, there is no doubt the United States of America is 100% behind Donald J. Trump. No doubts, no nothing else. Excuse me as my dogs bark. Number two, the woke is over. The Democrat Party is finished. We want nothing to do with you. We want nothing to do with your policies. It is a disaster that America no longer wants. And not only did that message resonate here in the United States during the election, But the Super Bowl took that message on steroids and let everybody around the world know that what you may be reading in the mainstream media, on the New York Times, or any of these other outlets that should just be banned forever, these outlets that won Pulitzer Prizes for reporting fake news about Russiagate, these same mainstream media outlets that supported the idea that you put a jab in your arm with crap that didn't work but instead poisoned you, the message is sent. America is back. America is back, and it's back tenfold, and we are going to push forward like nothing you have ever seen in your lifetime when it comes to ensuring that America is going to be pole position. Conservative values are going to shine, and there is absolutely no doubt in any of our minds, the MAGA minds, that Make America Great Again is going to go more forward and more higher and more better than anybody ever imagined. It is going to be far more than just a logo on a red baseball cap. It is going to be our national anthem. That's right. The sickness yesterday of the NFL for playing the black national anthem and then trying to drive into us that there's a signal of unity, my ass. That football game yesterday sucked. Everything about it sucked. The only shining spot in that whole 3.5 hours was Donald J. Trump making his presence, the first time a U.S. president has ever done it at the Super Bowl. Now, what I will play proudly is that prior to the Super Bowl, there was an interview between Fox News' Bret Baier and Donald J. Trump. And in this first clip that Ryan is about to play, you will see that Bret Baier follows the narrative of the mainstream media and the radical Democrats, asking Trump whether or not he can really rely on Elon Musk, whether or not Trump can really trust Elon Musk. Why would it be that that question would even be posed? Why not ask the question, how proud of you of Elon Musk and the work that his DOGE is unfolding, the corruption in this country, the stealing of American taxpayer money, the propaganda that's being pushed through media outlets that are getting tens of millions of dollars from the U.S. government, all the media outlets around the world who are getting paid to push leftist propaganda all over the world on taxpayer dime, about all the money that has been sent to foreign nations for crap, for DEI and gender-affirming nonsense. Why wasn't that the question? Because Fox News is just as complicit as the New York Times. They just mask it better. But instead, he was asked whether or not he trusts Elon Musk. That's what you call a leading question. Well, Trump gave a good answer. You got it, Ryan? Play it.
I don't know if it's kickbacks or what's going on, but the people, look, I ran on this, and the people want me to find it. And I've had a great help with Elon Musk, who's been terrific.
Bottom line, you say you trust him.
Trust Elon? Oh, he's not gaining anything. In fact, I wonder how he can devote the time to it. He's so into it. But I told him do that. Then I'm going to tell him very soon, like maybe in 24 hours, to go check the Department of Education. He's going to find the same thing. Then I'm going to go to the military. Let's check the military. We're going to find billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud and abuse. And, you know, the people elected me on that.
Exactly. And to think that there's radical judges, and we're going to talk about that in a moment, radical judges that are stepping in the way of everything Trump is doing. Everything that Trump is doing is being attempted to be ripped to shreds by Democrats who are using the radical judiciary to go after Trump and to stop the agenda. Well, let me tell you something. It is nothing but a bump in the road because Donald J. Trump, his administration, and Elon Musk are going to make America great again. And people like you and people like me are not just going to sit back and say, oh, shucks, this one didn't work. This is our last opportunity. This is our last chance. If we're not going to fight now for America, when will we? When will we? And listen, this idea that we're all going to be able to come together on one front as a nation is voodoo. You can't, for as long as you have radical Democrats and liberalism flowing through this country at the numbers it is. We have just got to dominate them. If you think for any stretch of the imagination that these Democrats are ever going to align with us and notice, oh my God, all the fraud, that's disgusting, you're out of your mind. The agenda on the left is one thing and one thing only. We must hate Trump. It's that freaking simple. Now, with that in mind, Trump was also asked about unifying the country during his short interview with Bret Baier. We have that clip as well, do we not, Ryan? Let's play it.
Sports has always been something that Americans rally around to come together. They really do. You won the popular vote. You won all the swing states. Have you thought about how to try to bring the country together, to reach out or to find common ground? Have you thought about that or how that might go?
I'd love to do it, but I would say this. We have to come together, but to come together, there's only one thing that's going to do it, and that's massive success. Success will bring the country together, but it's hard.
You know, the idea that success will bring the country together is a nice thought. And you would think it. You would think that a Democrat who sees that we have Donald J. Trump taking the most worst criminal aliens, illegal aliens in this country and deporting them would be a, oh, thank goodness moment. But it's not. It's not. You would think that the President of the United States finding all the fraud and misuse and abuse would actually drive things to where Democrats would say, well, you know what? I work too. I have plenty of bills I pay, including tax bills. And the fact that my taxes are going to nonsense, well, this has to stop. I've told you before, and I will tell you again, the liberal mind is not rational. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. There's a little thing called the Gulf of America. Used to be wrongly named as the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah. Here's a prime example of where Trump is saying we are changing things so this way we could have it be America first. I'm going to play a clip here for you. Trump, while he was on the flight to New Orleans yesterday, Air Force One, announced that February 9 is officially Gulf of America Day. And it was a celebration as far as I'm concerned. Play the clip.
Air Force One is currently in international waters for the first time in history, flying over the recently renamed Gulf of America. Please enjoy the flight, and we are now about to head westbound to Super Bowl 59.
Wow, yeah. He did that well. Make America great again, right? That's what we care about. Okay, here we go. So this is a famous pen now.
Although I'm not going to sit here and expect that the NFL and the liberal Democrats are ever going to be normal again, I will say this. There was one commercial yesterday that was really nice. It was a Secret Service advertisement. And Ryan's going to put that up here. And it was one ad that I said, you know what? I could get my hands around this one. And then I could take it and hand it off to somebody else. And today, I hand it off to you in case you missed it. Ryan, play that commercial.
America was founded on an idea of freedom. America's always stepped forward in time of need throughout our short but powerful history.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Tear down this wall.
We've been there for all of it.
The second plane hit the tower.
Our heroes are humble. They haven't not made. America's Secret Service protecting this Super Bowl is asking a few more to step forward.
And believe me, there's a reason why the Secret Service is definitely running its ads and running ads about positive side of the Secret Service is because they've taken a hit. Their reputation under Joe Biden took a hit. And under President Trump, the Secret Service will become a good agency again. Trust me when I tell you. Now, although I will not play the two ads from the Super Bowl that Dennis and I are going to talk about real quick, there was another woke ad that was both ridiculous, too long, and insulting. And in this particular ad, it shows a whole bunch of white high school football players who are snotty-nosed white kids going up against a series of minority-looking black girls and other girls of that nature, all minorities. And it's about flag football. And the boys are saying girls can't play football, and the girls saying, yes, we can. And then it was an advertisement to make girls flag football a varsity event in every high school in 50 states. Now, you could have made that ad without having to throw the white guy under the bus. You could have made that ad where it was a bunch of black boys and a bunch of white guys on a football team with a diversity of a bunch of different girls. But that would be too easy. That would be too unifying. The NFL can't do that. Oh, no, they can't do that at all. The other ad that was troublesome was a Nike ad. And I'll let Dennis explain to you what was in that Nike ad.
Just kind of a similar theme where they're trying to make it an ultra independent feminism, don't need a man kind of situation. So just a lot of shots of female athletes. And you know, we're very pro female athlete here, but I don't know why they all have to do it at the expense of always bashing down on white athletes, such as the other commercial. You know, it's why is it Brad and not a Dante every single time? And to your point, it's too easy for them to always, you know, kind of swipe at white males.
Of course. Now, with that said, you know, the football game and all things NFL, let's not talk about that anymore because ultimately it's not part of the national interest. What's more important is what I wrote about yesterday, Sunday, in my op-ed for 47 Report on 47report.com. Again, go there, put your email in, and you would have seen this. And maybe some of you listening read it, and you agree with me wholeheartedly. The DOGE team, the Elon Musk team, must go through every single last agency in the U.S. government, and then it should go deep diving into the judiciary. We should start be looking at all of these judges. These federal judges are, in most cases, appointed, and then they have lifetime bench seats. This is ridiculous. These people get drunk on their own power. I'm going to give you a little taste of some of the judges who have gotten in the way of the Trump agenda, and we're only 3 weeks in. Okay? I'm going to start with Judge John C. Cognor. He is an appointee from the original George H.W. Bush, right? The one who disastered. He was a total disaster for one term. The judge, who is 84 years old, blocked Trump's recent executive order on birthright citizenship. Now, this should not come as a surprise to you because birds of a feather flock together. And the Bush family is a complete rhino family. Let's not forget that the worst illegal immigration into this country, notwithstanding what we just saw with Biden, prior to that, the worst numbers we ever saw was during Bush number 2. It was an absolute disaster, changed this country forever. So you look at this judge and you say, my God, you know, you're supposed to be a conservative judge. No, this is not a conservative judge at all. I'll remind you of something that he did a while back in 1999. You may recall the case of the Millennium Bomber, a guy named Ahmed Rassam. Ahmed Rassam threatened to blow up LAX, the airport in California, one of the biggest airports in the world. He wound up getting caught, And this judge, Conanor, only gave this guy 22 years. It was so egregious, so horrible in terms of the light sentencing that the far left radical Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals overturned it and made it 37 years. Okay, that's what Trump's dealing with. Then there's Judge Carl Nichols, who, I can't believe this, but yep, he was a Trump appointee. And it kind of reminds you that Trump goes back to what he said to Bret Baier. You know, when Bret Baier asked him about the differences between his first and his second presidency, Trump said the greatest example of the difference was that the first one, he surrounded himself with the wrong people who opposed his agenda. Now he's got a team that totally supports Make America Great Again. Well, Judge Carl Nichols is an aftermath of that first term. He's the one who blocked Trump's effort to place all the USAID I call it, employees on administrative leave. So why this guy is pushing for DC corruption instead of protecting the American taxpayer is beyond me. And then you've got the other judges. They're all liberals. You got Judge Deborah Broadman. She was appointed by Biden. She issued a national-wide injunction against the same thing about the birthright citizenship plan. So this woman is saying, hey, the 14th Amendment, I'm going to misinterpret it. I'm going to misinterpret it so this way any illegal alien mama can come over the border, drop their baby on American soil, and that's what the founding fathers wanted to be a citizen. Now, keep in mind, this isn't the only radical thing this woman has ever done. She has a history, and I mean a long history, of supporting voting rights that ultimately result in voter fraud. Okay? She's one of those people, don't want the IDs and all this other different jazz. Then you've got Judge George O'Toole Jr., who was appointed by Clinton. He halted Trump's whole fork in the road where the federal employees were given a buyout offer, a program that was aimed actually to reduce government bloat. His decision, to me, seems more about protecting the deep state than it does the responsibility of serving the taxpayer. And then you've got my favorite one, Judge Emmett Sullivan, who was appointed by Clinton. This guy winds up putting a temporary restraining order against Trump's decision to terminate all the USAID employees. We want to make the government more efficient. Says, nope, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Instead, he wants to keep the status of big quo, big government. Now, remember, if you don't know Sullivan, Sullivan was the guy who ruled against Title 42 back during COVID, when Trump tried to put a Title 42 in place. So this way, potentially sick illegal aliens couldn't bring their diseases into the United States. You and I were told to lock ourselves in, hand sanitize every 13 seconds, stand 6 feet apart when you went to any kind of store. Don't sit with your grandmother and your parents or anybody else at Thanksgiving and Christmas. And if you've got a relative who's in a hospital and dying or in a nursing home, you can't go see them. But it's okay if the illegal aliens come into this country unchecked. That's Sullivan. He's also the guy who wanted to unseal all of Mueller's investigation documents, trying to keep that whole Russia collusion bogus thing alive. Then, just over the weekend, you had Judge Paul Engelmayer. He was also a Barack Obama appointee. Early, and I mean early in the wee hours of February 8th, this judge goes in and restricts all of DOGE's access to the Treasury Department. We're going to wind up finding oodles and oodles and oodles of fraud, but they're going to stop it, and he's going to use irreparable harm as his excuse, that he's afraid that your information is going to get hacked. Oh, come on. All right, this is another guy with the voting rights and the civil rights and all this other different stuff, which basically comes down to nobody is allowed to run a fair election. These judges and others like them, they get drunk on their own power. We cannot allow this thing to continue. Judge after judge after judge is trying to bring down the Trump administration. Just 30 minutes before we started this show, a federal court has issued a restraining order blocking the Trump administration's plan to transfer 3 Venezuelan illegal aliens from New Mexico to Guantanamo Bay. The illegals currently detained are challenging their potential transfer as being unlawful. The court's decision reflects ongoing tension between the Trump administration and the courts. This is unbelievable. These guys are illegal alien criminals that are supposed to be going to Guantanamo Bay, and they're going to be told, nope, can't do it. This is absolutely insane, Dennis.
Well, it is. I mean, why is it that some of these radical judges fight so hard to, 3 Venezuelans for the transfer to Gitmo? It's not like we're even sending them into the jungle or something. They're being sent, they're being sent, obviously to.
Go ahead. We've got somebody knocking at the door, so it's unbelievable the timing of how this stuff works. And Dennis, tell them out. We're done. Sorry about it. So anyhow, we bring our dogs to work because this is a family-friendly environment. The end of the day, the message is this: you cannot stand back and just stay silent as these judges wipe out the wants, desires, and will of 75 million Americans who voted for change. We voted for change. And if these judges did not have lifetime appointments to where they can do whatever they want, they don't have to worry about answering to you. They don't have to worry about answering to somebody who's going to cast a vote against them. These people are more powerful than the President of the United States. We need change. We need it to be where these people are voted into power, they have term limits, and then they are gone. It is that simple. Because look at what we're going through right now. We cannot, for 3 weeks, we have been sitting here saying, finally, everything that we wanted has been delivered, and it's being delivered, and it's going to get better. And then you get 6 judges, 6, or now today 7 judges stand in the way of progress, stand in the way of 75 million people and a Trump administration that says this country is so broken, it was almost falling off the abyss, never to be seen again. And we've got 7 judges who are going to say to us, no, I don't care what it is that you have to say. I don't care what it is that you want. I'm going to go on my ideology. I'm going to go with what I believe is right. I like the illegal immigrants being in here. I like all the big government bloat because I'm part of that big government bloat. And I hate Trump, and I'm a never Trumper judge. And therefore, because I'm a never Trumper judge, that's the way I'm going to keep it. It's insane. Now, let me tell you something about what the Democrats are doing, because there's so much news here today. I'm just going to keep on going through it and through it. Senate Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer and Gary Peters, have launched a new online portal for federal employees to report corruption, abuses of power, and other misconduct under legal protections for whistleblowers. This initiative primarily targets activities within the Trump administration, aiming to foster transparency. You've got to be kidding me. So what these people are doing, because let me tell you something, the Charles Schumers, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Adam Schiffs, they're panicked. They're panicked at what it is that DOGE and Elon Musk is going to find out, because all of this crap and all of this garbage is going to point back to them. See, I've talked to you before about how you have to look at this as a crime. And I was talking about this last night with one of my buddies. When you've got somebody who carries out a crime, and it's a big, huge crime, think about all the tracks that need to be covered. And yet you think you covered every track, but a hair with DNA drops, or you left one tool behind, or you sent one too many emails, or you dropped your phone. Something happens along the way to where just one piece of evidence will blow open an entire case. So now here we have Elon Musk. He's going in. He's finding the checks. Oh, we wrote a check for $8 million to Politico. Oh, we wrote a check for $300 million to the BBC. Oh, we wrote $2 million to this stupid dinosaur thing. Oh, we wrote another $2 million to this country for journalists to understand more about DEI. And the list goes on and on. That's the top level. That's when you look at the surface because you're looking at a ledger of where checks went in and out. The next stage of that, the next stage of a forensic internal look is to say, who authorized that? Who's involved in this on both sides? Where does that money lead down to? And that's when Pandora's box breaks wide freaking open. So if you know that you're on the bad side of some of these deals, and I think every Democrat and lots of Republicans are on the bad side of those deals, you need to do whatever you can to stop that bus from moving. And that's what we're watching at this very, very moment. I'll give you another thing we're finding out. The Trump train is moving so quickly that things are happening every 20 to 30 minutes. Recent social media posts have claimed that the Federal Emergency Management Agency, also known as FEMA, allocated $59 million of your money last week to house migrants in luxury hotels in New York City. These claims have sparked controversy over the appropriateness of using disaster relief funds for this purpose, especially when contrasted with the needs of American disaster victims like those from Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. Now, I can guarantee you there's no way that Trump and Musk know this yet. And these people who are still running in these agencies, these bureaucrats, they're still doing their thing. It's pathetic.
Yeah, I mean, like kind of like what Trump was saying in regards to Elon. I mean, you have Musk and the DOGE team going into these systems as outsiders. So obviously Washington's going to be threatened on that level, but obviously everyone has something to hide. So it's going to be a long run of them going through trying to stop, these radical actions. But then you kind of have that on a national level, such as the opposition that these sanctuary cities have been posing for. Tom Homan and ICE and even DHS. So it's so hard to enforce your agenda when you got these, people of resistance, especially the radical judges and Democrats, just making it difficult every step of the way.
Here you go. Here's another one. This just came out a couple hours ago. We had this in the 47 report, 47report.com. Make sure you sign up for it. You'll get it every day in your mailbox. Democrat Congressman Jamie Raskin has announced plans for a class action lawsuit against Elon Musk and the Trump administration, alleging a breach of American data through the Department of Government Efficiency, which is DOGE. The lawsuit aims to address data privacy issues, but has sparked a strong reaction all over social media, with many users expressing opposition to the lawsuit and some suggesting a counter lawsuit against Raskin for overstepping his what he is allowed to do as a representative.
And Raskin was the one who had said months ago that he was going to do everything in his power to try and stop Trump from becoming president. So he's he may not be as vocally loud as an AOC, but he is someone who constantly is trying to upend the Trump agenda at every step of the way.
Oh, every step of the way, these Democrats, who I truly, truly believe are at the bottom of every single audit, their name is going to be there. And if it's not their name, it is some name through proxy. And if you keep digging and digging and digging into the crime scene, you will find all of these people.
Totally. And, I think back to what we were saying with Trump describing the difference between the first and second presidency. Every time that he comes out and attacks someone, back in the first presidency, he'd be lambasted. People would be like, oh, why is he doing that? Whereas this time around, you kind of saw the shift at the Super Bowl where Taylor Swift is being booed rather than cheered. Something he just kind of like vocally talked about the other day during an interview was it was a silly question, but he was asked about deporting Prince Harry, and he just kind of vocally stated like, that's not my concern. He's already got enough to deal with his wife, and it just kind of goes to show he could just openly kind of talk about these people now and not have to face the criticism.
Right. I mean, some other stuff that's going on that's very, very important is Trump announced that there will be 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum this starting week, and there are going to be tariffs to follow. And he confirmed that the tariffs would affect all countries. And he started to hint at the fact that it wasn't just going to be about steel and aluminum. It was also going to now touch semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, oil, and gas. He is not kidding. He is set to get our economy on the best track of all time. And on top of that, we are no longer going to be bending over to other countries.
No, I mean, another big action he took, and I think this goes to show that Trump and Musk can have disagreements and still go with the agenda. Trump halted Biden's $5 billion EV charging plan that he wanted to enact if Kamala, got into office. And, obviously Musk has every incentive to want more EV, with Tesla and the Cybertruck, but he realizes it's not the most popular choice for many American drivers, and to have any kind of mandate on it is just kind of, unconstitutional.
Yeah, we'll keep on coming with the hits. There's so much stuff here. I mean, with the next 20 minutes, we're just going to blow your mind with the things that are taking place. Now, sticking with Elon Musk, he has been told, listen to this, from auditors, that there are currently over $100 billion in annual entitlement payments to individuals with no social security number or even a temporary ID number.
That's crazy.
Okay, I want to emphasize that one more time. An illegal alien, if they want to get a check and deposit it, the government, believe it or not, will let them go get a temporary ID number. You take it to the bank. You can open up a bank account. It is the most illegal way to work and get paid in this country and send your money out of the country. Trillions of dollars have been sent out of this country by illegal aliens. And now what we are learning, in addition to them stealing our jobs, running up the cost of our schools, our prisons, our emergency rooms, our society, they're taking $100 billion in entitlements, and they don't even have an ID card or a social security card. And you got the Democrats saying, get the judge in front of this because we're afraid that people's privacy are going to be invaded. Are you kidding me? You want to get in front of this because you don't want it to be revealed that our money is going anywhere and everywhere but the people of the United States of America. There was a video that I watched over the weekend. Shame on us for not having it here today. It's on my Twitter. Jon Stewart sat with one of the top peoples at the Department of Defense, who is now under scrutiny, and said, I don't understand how you have $850 billion to your budget, and we've got people of the military not able to pay bills, barely able to eat. How is that? And why can't you account for the $850 billion that you've been given? And it was like a deer in headlight. And that's why we have Elon Musk coming in and doing what he's doing.
It seems like Trump also took to Musk's suggestion. I guess the Super Bowl wasn't interesting enough for him because during it, Trump announced the end of the penny, that we will no longer be producing the penny.
Well, we talked about that the other day, and for whatever reason, I guess they figured out that it's costing us so much money to print these 1 cent devices. I don't know how that is going to impact us. When you go to the store and, it comes out to $8.02. Are you just supposed to give 8 and forget the 2? Are you supposed to have $8.05 in your pocket and say, don't worry about the change? I don't know. But like anything else, it will find itself a way to work out. Now, getting into immigration for a second, and I will have a little bit of criticism here. ICE agents have arrested 11,000 illegal aliens in Trump's first 18 days, according to 1/3 of last year's, well, it's already 1/3 of last year's total under Biden. Now, to arrest them and to deport them and all this other different jazz is fine. 11,000 in 18 days, we should be doing 11,000 per day. And I can't understand why this is ramping up so slowly. It needs to be at a feverish, neck-breaking rate, and it's not.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of shows the difficulties of America, I guess, because I've continued to, I mean, we've been talking about it, but I just keep continuing to read reports of whether it is radical judges or even Los Angeles, for example. You had all those crazy protesters, and the mayor's office is telling the LAPD to stand down. That's not true enforcement or protecting our cities. So I really hope they can at least start ramping it up, because those are kind of weak numbers.
Last night, and we didn't have time to put the video together here, but last night, the wild shenanigans, the far left city of Philadelphia. I mean, they're burning things down. They're taking down light posts, and they're taking down stoplights. They're smashing them and destroying them in the middle of the street. They try to turn over and destroy cop cars. And meanwhile, the cops are just sitting there. They can't do anything because they're completely outnumbered. This is unruly, chaotic stuff that you see happening all the time in Democrat-run cities. And it's only been 20-something days, but at the end of the month, I hope we could look back and say, all right, we've set the precedent for what is now going to be the next 4 years. That kind of crap in our cities needs to stop. If some ass wants to burn down his own house, smash his own car, break his television, light himself on fire, have at it. But when you start going into the streets and destroying property that we are paying for, that's a completely different thing. And that's what it is that Trump is trying to set. He's trying to set a precedent that's going to say, you are not getting away with this anymore. Whether you are a foreign country, whether you are a bureaucrat, whether you are a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, or whether you're a citizen or an illegal alien within our borders, you are not going to break the rule of law. You're not going to take advantage of American taxpayers anymore. And we are getting this country back on track, come hell or high water. And to think that judges who are supposed to be fair and balanced and the greatest minds in society, who are able to take all the facts and come back out with common sense based on the interpretation of the law, the fact that they're not doing that tells you this country was far more broken than anybody realized.
Yeah, I mean, in the case of Los Angeles, they just had all those fires. You think they would have some lesson to learn, and instead you got those rallies and protests going on with people waving the Mexican flag. I mean, if you were so desperate to stay in here, why are you always flying a foreign flag? And they don't allow their cops to actually enforce the law and break up these protests. I mean, Trump just tried to save your freaking state, by releasing the water. And the least you could do is actually stop this, quell it, arrest it. And they just don't act. It's they really do thrive in the chaos, the Democrats.
You just talked about the mayor of LA, okay? All right. This was just yesterday. The disgraced LA mayor, Karen Bass, has brought in a consulting firm based in Illinois, headed by an ultra-woke politician who signed a resolution to recognize that his city's land was stolen from Native Americans by white colonizers. You explain to me why Bass would bring in a Chicago firm to assess how it is that LA citizens can get back on their feet better, faster, stronger. Somebody who already has said, white people destroy things. You explain to me why you do that, how you get away with that, and that's not corruption. And this is why I say things like, I don't feel bad for the people in LA who voted for this woman and Gavin Newsom and had their house burned down and now will live in the ash for a very long time. And I'm insulted by the idea that President Trump right now in Congress has to look for, financial aid to send to Gavin Newsom in exchange for what? What do we get in exchange for? Let me tell you. Gavin Newsom goes to the White House. This happened over the weekend. Gavin Newsom goes to the White House on Friday, begs President Trump for money to help LA rebuild, gets back on his plane, and freaking 2 days later, he is signing into law $50 million from the state of California, splitting that money in half. $25 million of it to help the legal aid of illegal aliens, basically using California lawyers to protect these illegal aliens from deportation. The other $25 million is set aside to pay for the legal bills of the state of California for what? To push back against Trump's agenda. If Trump writes a freaking disaster relief check for the people in LA, which he ultimately will because he's got a big heart, it's a slap in the face. Gavin Newsom, the balls he has to go do something like that.
It's just really pathetic. And I don't know if it's because he really still thinks he's got some presidential ambitions and he's got to show his state that he's, fighting the corruption of Trump, even though his state has already tried recalling him. Yeah, it's so slimy, but it's very indicative, I think, of Gavin Newsom's entire character. He's always been kind of that slimy, weaselly politician who's going to say the right thing to get ahead, but in actuality, he's not really doing anything to help that state. That state is hurting.
I am telling you right now for certain, I'm going to make one of those Alec Baldwin statements. If for some kind of crazy way, Donald J. Trump, after making America great again to the best of his ability with all these bumps in the road that are in front of him, if the American people do not vote in J.D. Vance in 2028 and instead give it to Gavin Newsom, I am telling you right now, I am leaving this country. I don't know where my retirement will be set. I will find somewhere, but I am not going to have my retirement money and my taxes and my house and my freedoms all stripped from that piece of SHIT. There is no way, no how. I hope you and my grandkids come with me. I don't know where it would exactly be, but this country under Gavin Newsom will look like California. And I am not going to live in the state of California, even though I am in the state of Florida, because I won't have Ron DeSantis anymore to protect me. And I trust nobody else here in the state of Florida, nobody, to have the wherewithal that he does. And I am telling you, I will talk to your mother and we will be gone. There's no way, at least temporarily so. We'll go for another dual citizenship and we'll wait. And then when he's done, then we'll come back. But that's that.
Well, I think we got to just remember, we got Trump for 4 years, and it's going to be very critical to keep that momentum going. If there's something that I think can have the trickle effect of helping things out, such as, illegal aliens voting and participating, we gotta reform how we do voting in the country. I mean, the fact that we have states that tell you, oh, you don't need ID to vote. That's how I think the Karen Basses and all these other radical judges in these big cities ultimately get in. So if we can fix the voting, systems throughout federally and in some of these states, there should be no reason we don't have 8 years of Vance after 4 years of Trump.
Well, I'll tell you what, one good move, because I've been calling for it since he took over office. We put this on the 47report.com on Saturday. On Friday night, the nation's archivist, she does all the archivist, she does all the archives, Colleen Shogan, on Friday night, said that she had been fired by Trump. The National Archives and Records Administration accused Trump, if you remember, of hiding documents at Mar-a-Lago. And then what did he do? Just the day before, he had told the head of the Federal Election Committee, she's gone. She pushed back and said he doesn't have the authority to do it. I'm telling you, they're going to be at the chopping block of all this election stuff. I can't wait until we find out the fraud that happened in the elections.
I think there's an irony when someone who's a federal worker says that, oh, the president doesn't have authority to choose, like, if I can work for the federal government. He is the executive power. Like, I know there's checks and balances, but when it comes to things like that, if Trump says you got to go, you got to go.
Well, that's, I mean, one of the questions that Trump was asked yesterday about these federal judges stepping in. J.D. Vance has said what these judges are doing are illegal. And Trump says they don't have the right to do it. So basically what it is, it's a slow down game. They're trying to slow things down, just like they are for
Nominations.
all the nominations. Yeah. It is highly expected that Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. will both finally get their confirmations this week.
And Kash Patel.
Kash Patel, I think, is on Thursday, should get his. So has it been delayed? Do they kick the can down the road? Do they make it more difficult? They do. But ultimately, they're going to lose. So it's just going to take us a little longer than people like, and we just got to be a little patient, although it's very frustrating.
Yeah, and I think Democrats and mainstream media need a reminder because they keep going with this talking point, especially some Democrats like Elizabeth Warren. They keep going with, oh, we didn't vote or elect Elon Musk or this and that. It's like, well, there are large swaths of people who voted for Trump knowing who his team was going to be. If anything, that was the appeal of garnering so many voters. There were people who were in the RFK Jr. camp and said, I'm not budging. And then him nominating or endorsing Trump and becoming associated with the campaign brought a lot of people over. So I just think people got to realize he's choosing this kind of team specifically for good reasons.
A couple of little things that worth mentioning. I mean, I think we told you this at the latter part of last week, but it's now gone even deeper. Trump revoked the security clearances for Joe Biden, but also for other Democrats, including Anthony Blinken, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, Jake Sullivan, Lisa Monaco, Andrew Weissman, Mark Zaid, and Norm Eason. So obviously what Trump is doing is he's wiping clean all these radical people, and he's making their jobs as hard as he possibly can, because that's what they're doing to him.
He even made a comment or quote on it that he is canceling all security clearances to people he doesn't respect.
There you go.
That was the quote he had used.
Good. Then some other things here, that there's a Democrat out of New Jersey, name is Andy Kim. Andy Kim, during his hit on NBC's Meet the Press over the weekend, said that the Democrats are actually willing to shut down the government in order to be able to shut down Elon Musk. That is how insane these people are.
Well, look, take the visual comparison, right? During the campaign, it's Trump and the MAGA team, and it's been very clear that they are fighting for the American people. This Democrat meltdown that's going on for 2 to 3 weeks, I mean, they're fighting for themselves. And I think a lot of voters are seeing that, because I can speak for you and me here. USAID has never once benefited anything in our lives. So why is it all the Democrats are insanely up in arms about this, to the point where, Maxine Waters is trying to get into the USAID building? It's to show that their scheme is exposed and the jig is up.
Of course. Now, the other thing that's worth noting as well is that right now Democrats have 41 total lawsuits against Trump. 41. It's been 21 days, 22 days today? 14 or 13, 12, 13, 13 have been successful. Now, with this Guantanamo being number 13. 41 issued in just 22 days. That is basically, they're doing 2 lawsuits a day. Now, Trump can say, we are going to make the toilet bowls in the White House more clean, and they would they would sue him, saying that is discriminating against dirt. That's what they would do, Dennis. You know it, and I know it.
They continuously show that they want to put all of their energy into just opposing Trump, and not maybe self-reflection as to why they even lost the election. It's just always got to be Trump's the bad guy. And the good news is this time around, I just don't think people fall for it. I mean, I'm seeing people share these videos of them having these meltdowns, and they're pathetically making fun of them, because it's showing their true colors, that this has all been about, how do I stay in power and not get caught? Trump is bringing in Elon Musk and a bunch of 20-year-olds that can run circles around me. I'm doomed.
Yeah. I mean, you got to, there's a bunch of little things that you have to understand. People are in love right now with what Trump is doing. By and large, they're in love with him. On 47report.com, every single day, we give you the up-to-date, newest Rasmussen poll, which does a daily tracking of the president's approval. He has been floating between 51 and 53. Fox News did their own approval, 53, highest number Trump ever got out of all of his time as president, first and now, this term. CBS News did a poll, 53% approval rate. So remember, 53% of approval rating. Now that makes sound like, oh, you got to be kidding me. 47% say no, you know. Listen, 53. If you have a 53 to 47 in the United States of America, that's a huge wide range. Let's not forget, Joe Biden was in the 30s and low 40s. This guy is over the 50%, and we still haven't been able to feel the impact and effects yet. What we're doing is we're seeing what he's doing, but eventually we're going to feel it. Another thing, it's starting to ripple into states. I'll give you an example of something else that happened that we reported on Saturday. Governor Ron DeSantis has signed an order that now certain law officials, certain cops, highway patrol in the state of Florida can actually be deputized to carry out immigration law in order to be able to help President Trump get rid of these illegal aliens. That is huge.
That's fantastic because they need the support. You know, ICE is kind of a limited army front, you know, so if you got local police actually working in favor with you rather than, hey, Karen Bass said I can't even help you out, you know, that's always a big plus.
Yeah. And then the last couple of things I think we should just notice, because I could be sitting here for 4 hours going through all this other stuff. The Pentagon, Elon Musk has been told to go after the Pentagon, the Department of Education.
I have a question about that real quick. Yeah. So the big rumor is that Elon Musk said last night that the Department of Education technically no longer exists. Do you have any more info on that? Like, is he jumping the gun, or is it that they're under some real auditing?
What he wrote is that it's dead. And yet, but if you look right now, the Department of Education is still operating as it was the day before. I think that is Elon Musk's foreshadowing
of where things are going,
of where things are actually going.
Now, I've noticed mostly people on the left, but more so moderately, that there's been like not necessarily a meltdown, but concerns about the shutdown of the Department of Education. But I know you and I stand on the point of it's ultimately useless and it has backfired over the years as a department.
There are, maybe we should try to do this tomorrow if I remember. There are multiple departments in the government that can be shut down as a whole and take certain parts of their value and throw them underneath another department. I'll give you an example. You could take the Department of Education, which part of it may actually be working in terms of making sure that kids at school, poverty-stricken kids, have meals at school. You can strip that one part out, and you can put that underneath Health and Human Services. You could take the other part that maybe, you know, is so this way there's not discrimination in schools or anything else like that, or now this new whole gender BS that was going on. You can take that out and you could put that underneath the Department of Justice. So there are ways in which we can take these agencies, chop them up, get rid of the bloat, get rid of the spending, get rid of all the garbage, and just start putting them into other agencies that are also going to be smaller because we're going to get rid of the garbage that we don't need, and they will find a place.
So it's almost like just an absolving where you're going to disperse, most of those components. Like USAID has now, in official way, been absorbed into the State Department. That way it doesn't have its own agency.
I'll simplify it by bringing it into everybody's lives, right? Imagine two things. Imagine that the husband goes and picks up the dry cleaning, and the wife goes and picks up the food at the grocery store. The husband says, "We need to cut back on money. I'm no longer going to dry clean my pants. I'll just wash them and iron them myself." The wife says, "Okay, I'm no longer buying the garbage snacks that are killing us and poisoning us. I'm just going to go get healthy food, and I'm going to buy a little less." And then they say, "You know what? Why don't we do one other thing? I can be sitting here and cutting the lawn instead of having the landscaper. Why don't you take picking up the laundry and the dry cleaning when you go to the food market?" And so it's a consolidation of efforts. It is a cutting out of fat, and it is reappropriating people's time and energy in other places. That's the way it is that they're running this, whether it's a household. Think about your own household. If you've got a budget at your own household, that's what you do. You sit down at the kitchen table with your spouse or your kids and your family. You figure out what needs to be cut and what people can do in order to cut some of those things. If you're a business, we do it all the time. I mean, I know, I've been cutting back now for a while. I've cut out some of the subscriptions I have. I used to have a subscription to every news agency that was out there. Didn't want to miss a thing. Okay, you know what? I'm consolidating it. I can now because of things like X and other places that are giving me news and going directly to the White House, and finding out there. I don't need the subscription to this one or to that one. And now I have that money saved. A couple of those shekels will go towards something else, and a couple of those other shekels will go to the bottom line. So this way we've got money. So that's what it is. The government has not been operating like you would run your home or you would run your business. It's been operating as if money grows on trees, and that it just has the open pen and open checkbook to give anybody anything they want in the world, except for the taxpayers who gave that money in the first place.
I mean, yeah, just to keep using your real world examples, right? Every time tax season comes around, every American sits down, looks at their finances, their statements. They're prepared for, okay, I want to make sure all my ducks are in a row in case the IRS ever comes to my door. Well, now the U.S. government has its own IRS at the door. And I think after years of hearing the Pentagon failed their latest audit and no, responsibility being laid out, now you got someone like DOGE really coming in and saying, your ducks are far from in a row. Let's really get this organized. And I'm kind of like what you said yesterday to a T. A lot of these Republican lawmakers have been very aware that there's been this financial abuse going on. And some of them are just kind of playing as, oh, we just learned it. Let's get rid of it too. We're all on board. Okay, we'll let that go. But the Democrats that are continuing to champion against Trump, trying to get the ducks in a row and everything accountable, it's just, I'm glad it's falling on deaf ears. But obviously these judges are really posing blocks to getting those things done.
Well, not just the judges, Dennis. I mean, we're running a little long here, but I mean, it's worthwhile because we're really trying to explain to people what's going on. I'll give you an example, a prime example. So what we've seen the first 3 weeks is we've seen Trump say, okay, here's our plays. We're going to run these plays. And we run in the plays, and it's almost, I'm going to go back to a football analogy, right? Every time a football team runs a play, then they go back, they huddle up again, and they run the next play. Except for when the clock is running out. Then what happens is they go and hurry up offense. So they make a whole bunch of plays, and then they know that they're going to do this first, second, third, and fourth. And they go up there and they go to play, and then everybody runs to the line. They go to the next play. And what's happening, it's going so fast, the defense can't get itself together. They don't have enough time to make, changes on the line or whatever it may be. And they're like, oh my God, what's going on? They have no breath. They can't catch a breath. That was Trump's first 3 weeks. He was on hurry up offense. And he had all of his plays all lined up that he had set up for 3 months prior to getting into office. Now what's happening is that the Democrats have figured out, we're just going to call a timeout. And they called a timeout. Now there's a timeout, and those timeouts basically are the judges coming in and hitting the button for the timeouts. The next stage of that is now the states are going to start saying to the Trump administration, you can't run that play. I'm going to stop you from running that play. And if you try to run that play, I don't care. I'm going to go back against you anyway. I'll give you an example. California and its School Athletics Association will refuse to follow Trump's executive order banning trans athletes from girls' sports, vowing to uphold the state law allowing participation based on gender identity and not biological sex.
Democrats, I think, are really going to die on this hill of trying to make transgender ideology still relevant, especially because I know Letitia James did something similar in New York with, in my opinion, castration, but gender affirming care surgeries for minors. We have countless studies showing how detrimental and awful it is for these children. We know kids can't make decisions themselves on life decisions that will impact them until they're dead. And in some cases, as we've seen, you have mentally ill parents that push it onto the kid, and then they turn 18 and like, oh my God, what did I do? So this idea that we still have Democrats that know this and are going to act on it, it's demonic.
Okay, I'll read this to you from Saturday's 47 report. Washington State Attorney General Nick Brown, along with other states, filed lawsuits against a Trump administrative executive order that threatens to cut federal funding for gender-affirming care. Washington State Majority Leader, Democrat Jamie Peterson, sparked controversy over a proposed policy change to grant children over the age of 13 the autonomy to make their own decisions about their mental health and care independently without the need or parental consent. A 13-year-old.
That's like, everyone would ask, where's the common sense in that? And it's completely devoid. And it just shows that there must be a more nefarious intention that a judge would rule such a thing.
Absolutely.
Like, you've had 4 kids. I mean, I know plenty of people with kids. Like, they cannot make decisions rationally, especially before adolescence. So the idea that some judge who we're supposed to look to as the authority of ruling cases with neutrality and common sense is going to say that.
Dennis, it is reported.
I can't put my head around it.
It is reported, and I don't know. I haven't looked into it enough yet. But Chelsea Clinton and the Clintons together, $83 million from USAID.
Yes.
Where is that investigation? Where did that money
Wasn't
go?
some of it allegedly given to her wedding? I read
that was the Clinton Foundation.
Oh, that was Clinton Foundation. Can't get it mixed up with their
that was the Clinton Foundation.
with their scheming networks.
But it goes on and on and on. Another one again, 47report.com. If you haven't signed up, you're missing all of this. Okay, and we're going long today because it's a Monday. But 7 transgenders sued Trump and the State Department in federal court on Friday, claiming a Trump policy that prevents people from changing their gender markers on passports violates a constitutional right. They want to be able to take the gender and write none or X.
Which they just, it's funny you mentioned that. They did a cost analysis on not doing the X thing anymore, and I think they're saving like hundreds of millions of dollars just by eradicating that option on passports.
Yeah, I mean,
like even on a cost analysis benefit, it kind of works.
The Trump, here's the thing. I go back to the football analogy. When you're playing hurry up offense like Trump just did, right? He came out of the gate, 200 orders, boom, boom. He's passing here, passing there, and the Democrats are on their ass. They don't know what's going to be coming next or whatever. And now they've slowed the bus down. They've slowed it down. Trump now has to huddle. This is when you stop that and you huddle and you say, okay, listen, guys, they're getting in our way. They're figuring out our game plan. Here's what we got to do. We got to stick to our game plan. We've got to everybody be on the same page. I don't want to see any single Republican push against any of my nominees because that gives the left momentum. That gives the mainstream media momentum. Everybody needs to coalesce. We need to come together as one, and we got to run those same plays. And what you're going to see this week and next week, and it is going to be one of the biggest tests so far of the Trump administration, because listen, it's kind of easy running plays when your defense is kind of asleep, which is what the Democrats were, right? They were asleep because they still can't believe that Kamala didn't win. Now they're awake, and they're seeing that they're jeopardizing their own freedom. They're jeopardizing the future of their party. They're seeing that Trump is going to roll through this and change this country back to what it was supposed to be, and they want to stop it. The number one thing that we're going to see happen over the next week or two is the whole thing with the budget. Representative and House Speaker Mike Johnson and these Republicans, along with the Senate, need to get together and come up with numbers that make sense, that don't cut things for senior citizens, that don't cut things for the most vulnerable Americans. They've got to come together and show that they can spend less money, that they can pass a budget, that they could be fiscally responsible, and that it could not only just be about the rule of law, but it's about the rule of money. And once they do that, if they show a unified front in that measure and they're not jumping all over the place and infighting, this presidency will be able to get back on that field and start running those plays. And it won't matter whether he's in a hurry-up offense or if he's in a more controlled, let's have a huddle every time we make a play. No matter what, each play will be executed in the same way that we watched Philadelphia yesterday run over the Kansas City Chiefs. That's the way that the Republicans can kind of get the next 4 years going, and there would never, ever be a chance for another Democrat again to ever win unless they cheated viciously. And I think that's going to be another thing you're going to see Elon Musk starting to focus on in the months maybe 6 months, 7 months down the road as we start to talk again about the midterm elections? Last word goes to you.
I think what I would love to see, I mean, you're definitely spot on that budget argument is going to be very critical as to, I think, how we almost see the next few months truly play out, especially with Trump's relationship with Republican lawmakers. So we have a very good shot here of keeping the unity train of how often have we always said it? The Republicans can't get their act together like the Democrats. Well, Democrats still don't really have their act together. And now you got the Republicans with the real opportunity here to finish out Trump's agenda.
And you know what? The other thing too is once all of Trump's cabinet members are confirmed, and it doesn't look like there's going to be a single one that won't. Once they're all confirmed and the whole team is on the field. Remember, we're playing right now with only half a team and we're kicking their ass. Wait until everybody is confirmed, and that will be a home run. With that said, real quick, to you listening, whether you're listening on YouTube, whether you're listening on X, whether you're listening on Facebook, Rumble, or an Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, or wherever, or Team DML, or the DML News app, you need to hit the share button now. The more that people are engaged, the more it is that they're involved and they're getting the truth. No other shows are covering all the details like we are here. They need to get it. They need to get the truth. So please hit the share button. And if you want to ensure that we're always in your feed, you have to go 47report.com. Put your email in there. I will not sell, rent, or lease your email to anybody. I never share it. It's ours, and that is it. You could unsubscribe at any given time. We don't have any ads running between Monday and Saturday. On Sunday, I write an op-ed. There's a little tiny ad in there that I try to help us pay the bills. You got to do it. You got to be a part of it. If you are part of the 47 Report, you will have everything you need to know about these shows, about our app, about what's coming up. It is the single hub of all things. 47report.com. They're reading it now in the administration. They're reading it everywhere around the world. Our numbers are growing like wild. Our open rate, meaning when people see the email and they open it, we are 3 times the industry average. 93% of our readers give us 5 stars. The other 7% give us 4 stars. And one person just wrote the other day, I'm not going to give you 5 stars simply because I know DML and his family always want critique to get better. But really, you should be getting 5 stars, and I appreciate that. So 47report.com, 47report.com. Ryan will show it to you here on the big screen. It's the easiest thing. 47report.com. Sign up there today. Don't let us do this alone. Make sure you stick with us. And that is that. On behalf of Ryan, who didn't get to say anything today or so far throughout the entire Trump presidency, we will be bringing him in later in the week because Dennis is going to be disappearing on us for one day. But on behalf of Ryan and behalf of my entire family and Denny as well, we wish you and your family the greatest day today. We hope God blesses you all and bless the United States, our troops, our president, and our vice president.
Today's Team DML blessing goes out to Darlene Zanoni.
Awesome. And don't forget, dmlcbd.com/BOGO. Today is the last day for the buy one, get one free. We'll talk to you soon.
Or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.